Today's goal is to introduce a few of the NutriBullet recipes that are mentioned on this card that came out of the NutriBullet package, and it gives you 6 recipes from the beginning to start off with, and I will be trying each one of these recipes and let you know how they turn out. What you're supposed to do is fill, if the max line is here, you fill half with the greens that you're going to use, like in this case I'll be using spinach, and then the other half would be your fruit mixture or your vegetable mixture, and so that's what we'll be doing now. I will now be adding what I said was optional, and that is the Superfood Super Boost blend. And of this, you're going to use a half of a tablespoon. I don't have a half of a tablespoon, so I'm going to just use my tablespoon and kind of eyeball it that it would be about half. And you just put that on top. So this is what my mixture looks like. And you can see the superfood on the top. And it looks really good. It's got all of the vegetables and the vegetables and the fruit in there. So the next step is to fill this up to the max line with water. And that's what I've done now. And then you screw the lid on tightly. And then you put this down and you press down. So the fruits that I had cut up was actually enough to make 2 servings. So I would definitely recommend that you could cut that recipe in half, and I was kind of thinking that in the beginning because it looked like an awful lot of fruit, but I thought, you know, why not? So I think what you can do is just go ahead and store it in one of the cups with the lids, throw it in the fridge, and maybe if you want it later you can shake it up. I'm not sure how good it would be the next day, so I'm going to go ahead and taste these and tell you what I think. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one. This one has the Superfood Super Boost blend in it. Okay, that's not too bad. It's just like, I don't know. It reminds me of the Bolt House mixes that you can get at the grocery store. Something like that. I think there's one that, I don't remember what it's called, but it's the green one. It tastes like that anyway. Okay, so here's the one that does not have the superfood blend in it, and we'll see how that is. Okay, so I think that they're both good. This one tastes more like bananas, the first one, and the second one tastes more like apples and pears to me. I think that's because at the bottom of the bowl there were more pears and apples. I tried to mix it up a little bit, but the pieces were smaller and they just kept wanting to fall to the bottom. So that would be a decent snack or breakfast, I guess. I I don't know. My next question is to see how well these refrigerate and to see like how long that they would last. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drink this one with the superfood blend in it. And I'm going to put the other one in the cup with the lid, and I'm going to put it in the fridge. And then what I'm going to do is try it later on today. And I'm thinking it might need a little shaking to stir everything back up. But other than that, it should be good. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know what this looked like after it sat overnight. That way, if you make more than one serving, you know, you might want to know if you can just like double your batch and not have to make it every day. Just let it sit in the fridge. And what I'm going to do is show it to you before I shake it and after I shake it. It looks like some of the denser particles did rise to the top, but I don't think that that should be a problem. You should just be able to give it a shake and then it'll be fine again. So let's shake it up. The consistency of it is the same as when I mixed it yesterday, and I'm going to taste it to see if I feel like the flavor has changed at all, which I really don't think that it will, but let's find out. So I don't feel like the flavor or the consistency has changed since I made this NutriBlast yesterday morning. So I definitely think that you could make a double batch and that would be okay. Just keep it stored with the lid on it really tightly in your fridge overnight, and then, you know, so you can make a 2-day supply, or if you want to make 2 shakes for 1 day's use, you can do that as well. And I think that at least this one will hold up well. And considering how much it made when I made the last recipe, it was really too much. So I'm cutting this recipe in half. So I will show you a picture of the actual recipe here. But keep in mind that what you're going to see me do is half of that recipe. That way it only makes 1 serving. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing is 1 handful of spring greens, and then I am adding in half of a banana, half of a peeled orange, and I've also seeded this orange. I don't want seeds in it. It says 1 cup of pineapple, so I've got a half of a cup here. A handful of blueberries. So I didn't make a large handful, it was just a few. And I'm also adding in a half a tablespoon of the superfood Super Boost. I'm also adding that in. Okay. So that is right about at the max line, which is good. Okay, so I'm going to fill the rest up with water. And I'm going to add just a few more greens since I have some space in there. And here's the max line right here. So I've got it right at that max line. So I'm going to put the blade on and blend. So this is what it looks like. And let's pour it into the glass. I feel like this one is a little more watery than the last one. Woo! I thought that I could get it all in there, but I still have a little left over. But at least it's not a whole nother recipe that I have to make. Okay, so let's try it. Okay, so this one has a I think that it has a good flavor. You definitely do taste the spring green mix in it more than I tasted the spinach in the last mix. But I still think that it's good. The only thing that I would change with this recipe is that I feel like it is a little on the watery side. So I very easily could have added maybe a little bit more fruit or a little bit more of the solids before I added water. So definitely fill the fruit or the vegetables or whatever up to the max line and then add your water from there. Like, don't just fill it up with fruits and then fill, you know, to hit that max line, just use water. You want the product to be more, or you want your drink to be more dense than that. So this is pretty, I don't think you can tell how watery it is. Let me try to do this. I don't know if you can tell even by that, but it's pretty watery. It's not thick like a milkshake. It's more like, it's more the consistency of melted ice cream. Just watery. So fill that cup up to the max line all the way with your solids, and then put your water in it from there. Okay, so I think that I do like this one as well, and I am glad that I only made a half of a portion. So the one that I'm going to do today is from phase 2, and it's the energy elixir, and I will put a picture of the recipe here. Okay, so to make this one, you will obviously need your NutriBullet, and the first ingredient is 2 handfuls of mixed spring greens. I would like to point out again that I always half this recipe because of the first day when I made the recipe, and it made like 2 servings, and it was just too much. So I am going to half this recipe like what you saw on the paper. So I'm only going to do 1 handful of spring greens. And because of yesterday's, I'm going to actually put more in there than I did before, because the one that I did yesterday, the immune booster, was just too watery. Okay, so that's a little bit more than it was before. It also calls for 1 banana, so I'm just doing half of a banana. It also calls for 1 cup of red grapes, so this is a half a cup that I'm putting in here. A reminder to just watch where that max line is. You don't want to go over. It also calls for 1 cord pear. And so this is half of a pear. And again, I'm going to point out that you don't have to cut your fruit into pieces. At least they don't tell you that you have to, but I do, because I want to make sure that it gets blended really well. So another thing is 1/8 of a cup of walnuts. So I have that, and that's just a 1/16 of a cup. And so the final thing is optional. It is the Superfood Super Boost. Okay, so let's mix it. Okay, so I've let it blend for 2 or 3 minutes, and here is what it looks like. I apologize for the dark lighting. I'm not able to do this until nighttime this time. So it's kind of like a light green color this time. And you can see the little pieces of the grape skin in there, and just kind of adds like some red specks. And again, you have just about that much left over. And this is the large cup. I always use the large cup. Okay, so let's try it out. It tastes a lot like the Toxin Cleaning Blast, the phase 1, the one that I did first. And I mean, it's not bad. Again, I would just suggest to maybe have it cold. So I don't think I would want to add ice. Again, it is like loose, like the consistency of melted ice cream. It's a little bit thicker than it was yesterday, or the last one I did, the immune booster. But it doesn't have a bad flavor, and I mean, I think that it's good. I think it just would be better if it was cold. So maybe if you had your fruits in the fridge the night before, then that would be good. So today I'm going to make the Nature's Candy, and I'll put a picture of the recipe here. that it calls for is 1 cup of butterhead lettuce. Now, I have no idea what butterhead lettuce is. So I just have regular lettuce here. So this is a cup. I'm going to put that in. And then next is 1 cord pear. So this is a half of a pear. The next thing is 1 cord apple. And this is a half of an apple. And then 1 cup of blueberries. So this is a half a cup. And then 1 banana, and this is half of a banana. Okay, so as you can see, that is way past the max line. So what I'm going to do is just push that down in there a little bit, because I'm still feeling like they are too watery once I make them. So I'm thinking it's okay to just kind of push that down in there, as long as you're not above that max line. So I think that's pretty close. Let's see. I've lost it. Right here. Okay, so the max line is right there. So that's just about right. Okay, so now this is more full of mass than it is water. So I'm going to fill this water up to the max line. Okay, so there it is. And I'll put the lid on. And now let's blend it. So I have to admit that this one looks the yummiest of all so far. I mean, it's got a nice purple color to it from the blueberries, and I think the lettuce will just give it more mass than it will flavor. Okay, so here it is. Oh, that's a little thicker as well. So I think that pushing the vegetables down helped a lot. And as always, we have some left over. And again, this is the large cup.
Sorry, give it to me. No, I said it first. No, you did not. No, I reached first. I don't care, but I reached first.
Just pour it into 2 glasses.
Or we can just both drink it. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so something that I just realized I forgot to mention was it called for 1 teaspoon of mesa or maca powder, and I don't know what that is. And I looked for it in the store and couldn't find it. I didn't go to a health food store. I probably could have found it there. But I didn't find it at my grocery store, so I did just leave it out of this recipe. I don't know if it's a sweetener or what it is, but I did not put that in here. And I also just realized I forgot to put in my Super Boost. So, oh well. What's done is done. But let's go ahead and try this anyway. So I've had a couple of the kids in the house taste it already, and they told me that it is not very sweet and that it's kind of thick. Like maybe I should have blended it a little more. Like one person said you could chew it, so that was interesting. Okay, let's try it. Well, I think that that is really good. And they said that you could taste the lettuce, and you can taste the lettuce a little bit. But more than that, I taste the blueberries. And I think that that's really good. I think so far this is my favorite one. So this is the last one, and it is called the Free Radical Fighter, and here are the ingredients. So I'm going to half this recipe. I'm trying to find the max line there. And okay, so the first thing was 2 handfuls of Swiss chard. My grocery store did not have Swiss chard, so what I'm going to do is just substitute, and I'm going to use kale again because I feel like they're pretty similar. So again, I'm just going to put some kale in. But the recipe does call for Swiss chard. If you have Swiss chard, then I would suggest that you would use that. Okay, so here is half of an avocado. And then here is a half a cup of watermelon. Again, these items are not in season, so it was expensive to buy them. For the making of this video, I did not mind buying them, but I would definitely wait until these fruits were in season before I bought them. Okay, so here is a half a cup of blackberries, and I chose to buy them frozen because it was $3.99 to buy a bag of frozen, 1 pound, 16 ounces of frozen blackberries, and it was $3.69 to buy 12 ounces. So I just went ahead and bought them frozen. The next ingredient was a fig, and I could not find figs at my grocery store. So instead I am using prunes, or a prune. I estimated that 2 prunes would be about the size of 1 fig, so I'm just going to use 1 prune since I'm halving the recipe. And a half a cup of blueberries, so this is a 1/4 cup of blueberries. And then a 1/8 of a cup of flax seeds, so this is just a 1/16 of a cup. And again, I am using my Superfoods Super Boost, and I'm just going to use a half of a serving in that. So I'm just going to push all this down because I don't want it to be watery. Let's see, and that's right at the max line right there. But there's some space in here. See the space? And so I feel like that extra space is what creates it to be watery. So let me just fill this up. One thing I also like about using the frozen fruits is that it makes it cold automatically. Alright, let's go ahead and blend it. Okay, so just to let you know, I generally let these, I don't know if I've mentioned it in any other videos, but I've generally, I let these blend for, I don't know, a couple minutes. It depends on what ingredients are inside. If there's something that has a little bit more of a tough skin on it, then I'll let it blend a little longer. And this one, as well as the one I did last, the Life Boost Blast, I let those blend longer because of the flax seeds. So this one turned out brown. And I thought it would turn out more blue because of all the berries, but it turned out brown. So let's pour it in a cup and see what it looks like. Alright, this is definitely an interesting color and texture. It's like brown. Okay. And it smells like that Swiss chard. So I'm thinking that might not have been a good idea. That actually filled up the glass. There was just a little bit left this time. But I hope doing the Swiss chard was a wise idea. Let's go ahead and try it. Okay, so let's try this last one. It is brown. It's like almost the color of milk chocolate. So this ought to be interesting. Okay, so that is also a very interesting texture. I don't know if that is one that I would make again. I think that this one, as well as the last one, is just something that I would make every now and then because of the health benefits, but it would not be something that I would make like regularly. You can see how thick it is. It stays on the straw. And it's not that it's terribly bad, it's just not all that great either. And so, like, to have to drink the whole glass would be a challenge. So, anyway, that is it. We have finally finished up this series. So I think out of all of them, my favorite was the Nature's Candy. And then second would be, well, it would probably be one of these three. The Immune Booster, Nature's Candy, or Energy Elixir were the best ones to me. Like, I think those are the ones that I could drink the most regularly and not feel like I was forcing myself to drink mud. Anyway, so I hope that you've enjoyed this, like all of these recipes that we've tried out. And, you know, I do encourage you to try them all for yourself, because just because I didn't like one doesn't mean that you won't. And I don't know, just try them out for yourself. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.